Welcome to Injustice Media. I'm your host, Gucci J, and today we're looking into the case of Andrew Milkins, Millinson, Andrew Millinson, cleared of rape after serving 17 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. This one's a mad one still. Let's get into it.
Almost exactly 20 years ago, on the 19th of July 2003, a young woman was attacked and raped as she walked to her home in the early hours of the morning. On 10th February 2004, this appellant, Mr. Andrew Malkinson, was convicted of offences of attempting to strangle that young woman, to whom we have referred as C, with intent to commit an indictable offence, namely rape, and 2 offences of raping C. He was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment. He, in fact, spent over 17 years in custody, very substantially beyond the period specified by the trial judge as the minimum term.
So basically, they slammed him with a life sentence order for strangling. I think he said 2 allegations of rape, and he served over the recommended time of his sentence, life sentence, basically.
Throughout, he has denied committing any of the offences. He now appeals against his convictions, the appeal coming before the court by way of a reference from the Criminal Cases Review Commission, CCRC.
So those who don't know, the CCRC is the Criminal Case Review Commission, what just looks into cases to see if the policies and procedures were followed. They're not there to help the defendant or the prosecution. They're just there as a apparently independent panel to look at if all the policies and procedures were followed, basically.
As a result of scientific advances in relation to DNA testing, it became possible in 2022 for tests to be carried out on samples which had been collected during the original police investigation and had been preserved across the years. The outcome of that testing was of twofold importance. First, it gravely weakened the case which the prosecution had presented against Mr. Malkinson at his trial. Secondly, it directly implicated another man to whom we have referred as Mr. B.
See how corrupt the police is? Instead of saying, sorry, we got it wrong, and release you, they'd rather keep you in prison knowing that you're innocent. He was arrested, basically, it sounds like he was arrested on a statement from the victim or ID parade, like someone picking him out, like, like a lineup of people, and someone say, oh, it's him, type of thing. There was no CCTV, there was no independent evidence, there was no DNA, because I think back when he was locked up, they didn't have DNA testing. So they've done the testing and someone else's DNA is found on the clothing. It's mad.
That development led the CCRC to refer the case to this court pursuant to Section 9 of the Criminal Appeal Act 1995. The first ground of appeal advanced on behalf of Mr. Malkinson reflects the reason which the CCRC gave for their referral.
So basically, if the CCRC feels that there was a miscarriage or policies, procedures weren't followed, to refer it back to the Court of Appeal for a single judge to look at it, grant if he's got grounds or not. And then if he has, then he goes to the full courts. If he hasn't, then he can still renew his application to go to the full courts. But it'd be less likely for him to get the conviction overturned if it's not backed by a single judge. And he could restart his sentence, could add years on, give him a fine. If you're appealing with no substance or no grounds, basically.
Further grounds 2 to 5, have also been put forward. It is recognised on all sides that this court has a discretion to hear and determine those grounds, even if the appeal will be allowed on ground 1. We're extremely grateful to all counsel for the submissions we have had on all the matters, including those in respect of which the court will need to decide whether to give leave. We're also grateful to all those behind counsel on each side for their work in preparing and presenting this important appeal. The submissions we have heard about grounds 2 to 5 have substantial and important points, and the court wishes to take time to reflect upon them. For that reason, and having regard in any event to the time we have reached this afternoon, it is not possible for the court to give its full judgment today.
That's horrible. You know, when you waited all this time for years and years to come out and prove your innocence, take it to Court of Appeal, all the money, time you spent on the case, and on the day for the judge to say they won't be able to make a judgment today. It's the worst feeling ever, you know, like thinking, oh, adjournment, I have to wait again. It's mad.
However, we must keep Mr. Malkinson waiting no longer to know the outcome of his appeal, for we are able to decide the outcome of the appeal on the basis of ground 1 alone. The respondent has not sought to resist the appeal on ground 1, and we have no doubt has acted entirely properly in that regard. Having considered for ourselves the new evidence and its effect, we have no doubt that the new evidence shows these convictions to be unsafe. Accordingly,
So basically, the judge is saying they don't need to reflect or go over everything. They can see by the first ground, which is someone else's DNA was found, that they can see that the conviction is unsafe. That means the conviction is being convicted with shouldn't have been convicted with, basically. So if he was found guilty at trial and charged, that was a mistake. So basically the conviction's unsafe.
We formally receive the new scientific evidence as fresh evidence. We allow the appeals against conviction in relation to all the offences, and we quash the convictions. We reserve our judgment. We will give it in writing in due course.
So they're basically saying convictions overturned, to squash the conviction. They give basically the summary and everything in writing. Not straight away, but they're going to send it out to the defendant, or should I say the innocent client.
In it, we will give our decisions on the issues of leave and, if appropriate, the merits of grounds 2 to 5, and we will state the reasons for all our decisions. But whatever our decisions may be in relation to grounds 2 to 5, the appeal succeeds on ground 1, and so Mr. Malkinson, having waited so many years, you leave the court a free man, no longer subject to the conditions of your life license.
Come on, man, just to clap. 17 years as an innocent man. You know what I mean? He hasn't killed himself. He hasn't gave up. It's been fighting. You know what I mean? He's been fighting for this.
Do you have $100? Because I'm looking for 2,000 believers who are willing to trade one.
Sorry about that.
I came to the police station in 2003 and told the officers I was innocent. They didn't believe me. I came to the Crown Court in Manchester in 2004 and told the jury I was innocent. They didn't believe me.
Crazy, man.
I came to this appeal court in 2006 and told them I was innocent. They didn't believe me. I applied to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, which is supposed to investigate miscarriages of justice, and told them I was innocent. They didn't investigate, and they didn't believe me.
Do you see how corrupt the system is? How corrupt it is. CCRC were meant to look at cases and investigate if procedures, policies were followed, if grounds are suitable, and they didn't do it. And that's not just him, that's millions of people, man. It's mad.
Not once, but twice. Today we told this court I was innocent, and finally they listened. But I have been innocent all along. For each of those 20 years that came before today, nothing any police officer, court, or commission said about me since 2003 changed that reality.
Trust me. The police, the papers, probation, they say wild stuff. They put stuff on your record. So when you go to prison, it's on your file for like prison officers to read. And then when they read, they treat that information as factual and treat you accordingly. And with newspaper articles as well.
You are here to gather news. That declaration from the bench in there behind me is not news to me.
I feel you, man, with that one. Basically, it's new to everyone. Everyone's shot like, oh my God, no way, this has happened, da, 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 and then move on with their life. But he's been living this nightmare for 17 plus years, or probably even more than that. And it's not new to him that he was innocent. It's probably new to you, but it's not new to him. You get me?
When a jury finds you guilty when you are innocent, reality does not change. You know you did not commit the crime.
That's some real talk. In yourself, in you, you know you didn't do it. You know you didn't commit the crime. You know what I mean? So reality of what they're painting the picture of doesn't change for you.
But all the people around you start living in a false fantasy universe and treat you as if you are guilty. The police, prison officers, probation, prisoners, journalists, judges.
Basically, it's like the whole world is against you. You know what I mean? You got the papers against you, making mad articles and headlines to sell anything, which most of the information in the articles ain't factual. Then you got the police against you, putting all mad conditions and stuff on you. And then you got the prison officers planning and conspiring, you get me, against you. And then you got prisoners read newspaper articles and hear stories and think, yo, my man's this, you get me? And I try to assault you or murder you in that place. Also, family are normally supportive, but some family members will believe what they read. You know what I mean? And then you got family against you. So that's a big weight. That's like tremendous weight on your shoulders.
As a minority of one, you are forced to live their false fantasy. On the 2nd of August 2003, I was kidnapped by the state.
That's like a bar. That's so true. You was kidnapped. Was in your house, relaxing. Police knock off your door, lick off your door, chainsaw it off, hammer it off, whatever. Throw you on the floor, put the handcuffs on you, you're arrested. What? Rape? What? You're mad. Take you to the police station. Get me? No solicitor. You get me? Answer all the questions. You're not going no comment because you didn't do nothing, can it? And either you get taken to court the next day or you get remanded. You know what I mean? Put you in prison and just lock you behind the door. You say, yo, I didn't do this. They're not listening to you. You've been kidnapped, bud. Don't care about the truth. They want to care about is a conviction.
It has taken nearly 20 years to persuade my kidnappers to let me go. 17 years, 4 months, and 16 days of that time were spent in prison. At every parole hearing,
17 years, 68 days spent in prison. 365 days in 1 year. Times that by 17. Times that by 17. That's 6,205 days plus the 60. So 6,265 days or something, or 58 in prison. 23-hour bang up. 4 wars as an innocent man. The trauma you go through, unreal. Imagine if that happened to you. Imagine that.
And I sat before a panel who shook their heads at me, considering me to be dangerous.
Let's go back.
As a minority of one, you are forced to live their false fantasy.
Right, true. You're forced to live that. If you don't do these courses, if you don't admit guilt, you're not getting out halfway through your sentence. You're going to keep you in prison. You're going to say you're more risk to the public because you want to admit guilt. That's what they do.
On the 2nd of August 2003, I was kidnapped by the state. It has taken nearly 20 years to persuade my kidnappers to let me go. 17 years, 4 months and 16 days of that time were spent in prison. At every parole hearing, I sat before a panel who shook their heads at me, considering me to be dangerous. And all that time, the real perpetrator, the real dangerous person, was free.
Imagine that. Parole is basically when before you get released, if you're on like a determinate sentence or you're on a parole sentence or IPP or EDS, you go in front of a board. So it could be one person. Depends how complex your case is. It could be 2 or it could be 3. So one's like a retired judge, another person's like a specialist in a different area, and then the other person is like a psychiatrist or a doctor or something. And then obviously they look at all your previous convictions from whenever you've been arrested from young. They look at the reason why you're in prison, or if you get recalled or whatnot. They look at that, and then they look at your prison record. If you have any IEPs, adjudications. IEPs are like warning for like silly things in jail, not wearing flip-flops or not going to your cell or disobeying an order. And adjudications are for like prison rules, for like fighting, not going work, like all sorts of offenses in it in prison. But it's not criminal, it's prison, prison rules, basically, like adjudication, like a prison set punishment type of thing, like lose your TV, canteen, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, innit? So if you got loads of IEPs or even one or adjudication for fighting or disobeying officer, that will go against you and you will not be released. You'll be deemed high risk to the public because of that. And even if you don't get any IEPs or adjudications and you haven't done no risk reduction work or admit guilt, you're not getting out early or you're not getting out at all. It's very, very, very extremely rare someone get released from parole without doing any courses or having loads of intel to do with drugs or IEPs or adjudications, basically.
More recently, I was allowed to leave prison, but with my name on the sex offenders register and under tight supervision by police and probation.
So sex offenders register is like signing on at a police station, basically, and giving them like your bank details, your address, car you drive, what else? I think that's it really, or whoever you're around or whatnot. And then police just come to your house randomly, like on a random one, just ring your doorbell to see if you're in, ask you loads of questions, you know what I mean? Where you been, what you been up to, type of thing. And then probation, see you. If like in his case, it'd be like once a week type of thing. To see basically if you're following your license conditions. And license conditions, that's just a list of things like if you're on curfew, tag. If you got zones you're not meant to enter. If you undertake work without notifying them, like there's loads of rules. And then obviously you got children's services, and they just check on the well-being of if his kids, or if he's got kids or nephews, or anyone who's in contact around what's vulnerable, basically.
I was not free. And now I have finally been exonerated. I am left outside this court without an apology, without an explanation, jobless, homeless, expected to simply slip back into the world with no acknowledgement of the gaping black hole that they opened up in my life.
So this is what they've done to them sick, disgusting people. Police, courts, everything. You know what I mean? Falsely convicted this man. Released him. No apology. Nothing at all. No support. No help. No psychology. No, you know what I mean? Not even money to claim or anything. I think after 17 years in jail, he's just gonna slip back into normality and carry on with his life.
A black hole that looms so large behind me, even here today, that I fear it will swallow me up. That black hole is hard for a person who has never slept a night behind bars to conceive of. People convicted of rape are the lowest of the low. I did not commit the crime, but I was treated as if I did. I spent 17 years on my guard against every threat. 17 years counting down the minutes to lock up.
It's raw true. Like when you're on them charges and you're in prison, you're not safe. Man would chop you in your face. Man would get a kettle, boil it with hot water, put sugar in, wait for you to walk past. When you're not looking, run behind you and throw it in your back or in your face, burn you up, oil in the kettle, stab you, rush you. That's the rule in prison. If you're in for like a sexual offense, you get me? And man feel, if you're guilty or innocent, it doesn't really matter. Man will stab you up. It's like you're around man what are active in it. You're around man what love violence. And if any given chance, it's peak. You know what I mean? You got not just people don't like you or the offense. You got officers as well. Officers telling prisoners, "Oh, he's in for this," you know. I was like, "Swear down." And then obviously, before you know it, you're on the floor, bleeding. You get me? And then it's not just the wing you want; it's the whole jail, and it gets around the whole jail. So you have to be on your guard.
So I could be behind my door and safe from other prisoners, but not safe from my own mind.
True what he's saying. Out on the land and around the prison, it doesn't feel safe in it because anything can happen. You get me? The only time it's safe is when he's locked in his cell and the door's locked and he's in his cell. But really, he's safe from harm from others. But is he safe from himself? Because in his mind, a lot of things are going around in his mind. Newspaper articles, police, false conviction, family, prisoners want to get him outside or chatting about him, paranoid, officers going around spreading gossip on it. What police put on his file. It's mad.
Imagining I would die there, perhaps murdered in the kitchens by a fellow prisoner.
That's real. Because if he's got 17 years, he would have been in like an ACAT or high security. And in them prisons, you got weapons, you got knives, you got big pans, you got oil, ghee, anything could be made as a weapon in it, basically. So in his head, he's thinking like one day someone's gonna come and murder me because he's probably been in so much altercations and told so much man is innocent.
or left to die of hypoglycemia in my cell in the night,
Them cells are cold still.
or being driven insane by the system and dying at my own hand. But somehow I lived, told every day that I was a liar. I sought the uncomplicated truths of science and mathematics through the Open University.
Don't pay more for the same weight loss medication. At Juniper, we've lowered the prices of our medicated weight loss program, so you don't have to.
Sorry about that.
Told every day that I was a violent monster. I sought tiny respites through Buddhism and meditation. Told that I was in denial.
Look at that, man. I think that's one of his family members behind. Sad, man. Sad. Destroy lives and families. She could have been fighting for him all these years, or she could have not believed him at all and just come to the realization that he's actually innocent, because that happens as well, you know.
About my offending behavior. I read everything I could about a justice system that was in denial about its mistakes.
In denial, man.
Since I was arrested in 2003, the police, the prison system, and probation service have been calling me a liar because I denied that I committed the crime.
You people are sick bastards, all of you. You know, a lot of people are innocent, but you still put them in jail. You still write bullshit on a file because, oh, he's been convicted by a jury. Dickheads.
They claimed I was in denial and made me serve an extra 10 more years in prison.
See how sick they are. You must have sat parole to get released. And they say, oh, you haven't done no course. You're not admitting guilt. You're in denial. Sit down for another 10. But if you're innocent, man are doing that. Like, man has to ride it, innit? It's fucked though, man. Sorry for our language, but yeah, man, it's just mad.
Because I would not make a false confession. I am not a liar. I am not in denial. But I will tell you who is. Greater Manchester Police are liars.
Liars.
And they are in denial.
Yeah.
Even after this judgment today, I predict we will see them denying responsibility for what happened. We will see them stretching credulity with their excuse making. Greater Manchester Police have been scrambling to cover up how they wrongfully convicted me for 20 years.
That's gospel. You knew, like, the police knew he was innocent. The DNA went it was someone else's. It was hidden, put in unused material. And you guys knew. You sickos.
Rather than investigate the multiple leads they were given by the public, they made a horribly traumatized woman look at a lineup with me in it, even though I didn't match the description she had given of her attacker.
See how sick this is? So it wasn't even picked out at ID parade, and he didn't match the description. So you just grabbed some random man and convicted him of rape. You know how mad that is? You sick people.
They exploited a hopeless heroin addict and his girlfriend, both with dishonesty convictions, having them tell the jury they identified me.
Homeless person and a crackhead or on drugs, you got them to identify a random man that he was a suspect. And they got convictions. So they're unreliable. They're moving like the mafia. These police. Sick.
They unlawfully withheld crucial evidence which would have helped my defence. Once I began appealing, the police unlawfully destroyed the victim's clothing.
Oh my days. You guys are sick.
That I was demanding be retested along with other evidence, not just once, but 3 times. And all this time, the person who really did this horrific crime has been at large. And this means that it's not just me who has been denied justice, it is the victim. As this is my only chance to say something to her, please allow me to address her directly. Sitting in my cell, I used to rack my brains as to how you could say you were so sure it was me when I knew it was not. I read all I could and learned about how fraught with risk the process of lineup identification is when someone has been subjected to trauma. I wondered if the police helped you to pick me. Since my release, I have had the privilege of being introduced to an American woman called Jennifer Thompson, a rape survivor who was caught up in a wrongful conviction. And she has helped me at least begin to try and understand what you went through that night and what it has been like for you since. I am so sorry that you were attacked and brutalized that night by that man. I am not the person who attacked you, but what happened to me is not your fault. I'm so sorry if my fight for the truth, as I knew it to be, has caused you extra trauma. I am so sorry that the system has let you down. It let us both down. There are no winners in a wrongful conviction case, with the exception of the real perpetrator. Everyone gets failed, from the original victim to the wrongfully convicted person. I sincerely hope that you are receiving the support you need and the apology from the police that you deserve. Thank you.
You don't want to hear what the police got to say. You sick people, man. Those clothes with someone else's DNA on it. You got a crackhead, the homeless person, to identify him, an innocent man, as the perpetrator. Three times you destroyed evidence to cover up your tracks. I feel sick, you know. There's no one that's going to read this, man. We are truly sorry, Mr. Malkinson, that he is the victim of such a grave miscarriage of justice in being convicted of a crime he did not commit and serving a 17-year custodial sentence. While we hope this outcome gives him a long overdue sense of justice, we acknowledge that it does not return the years he has lost. I have offered to meet with him personally to deliver my apology. Assistant Chief Constable Sarah Jackson, Great Manchester. You people are sick, so what if he commits suicide in the prison? Or died, or got rushed, or got stabbed up? What if he weren't fighting hard? to overturn and show his truth. Let's get the conviction overturned. He wouldn't have said nothing. So it's a little too late. Sick people. You're only doing this because obviously the public's outrage. No, this is getting me mad. I don't even wanna listen to what they got to say, man. The sick people. But yeah, man, that's part one. Not gonna move off this this case yet. We're gonna go into part two. Go into depth. Hear what he's saying. I think there's another interview. There's an interview on here somewhere. Yeah, falsely in prison. So we're gonna go into part two. That's gonna be part two, looking into this miscarriage of justice. Sick people, man. Gets me angry, man. Sick. Yeah, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. Bless. See you in the next one, part two.